So it's the 30th anniversary of Writing Down the Bones. And, I don't know whether to be happy or unhappy about it. I don't know where those 30 years went. I wrote the book when I was in my 30s, and I'm still in my 30s. And Julia Cameron wrote a new introduction, and also someone that you won't know, but you'll love the introduction, Bill Addison, one of my longtime students who read the book when he was 21 years old in college. And he taught himself through Writing Down the Bones to become a food critic. And he tells, and I don't know if you know eater.com, he does that. And actually, he was here recently and picked the 38 best restaurants in Vancouver, supposedly. But that's a great introduction too, so I think you'll really enjoy it. But this is my darling new book, The Great Spring, and I need to tell you that I'm really happy to be here. The energy is so different than the US, I have to say. You're here in a very even way, is what I experience. Maybe you're all psychotic, I don't know. But at least you don't manifest it. So, The Great Spring, I don't know how many of you know, in 2014, for 14 months, I had cancer. And I wrote the book and I put it together while I had cancer. In the afternoons after infusions, I had quiet time in the living room. And what I say in Writing Down the Bones, I have continued. You just keep practicing. It's a practice. So I even with cancer, you don't get tossed away. So, and I wanted to record, some of it is, I wanted to record my life. I wanted to record some of the things I remembered and loved in case I wasn't around anymore. But instead, I get to read to you about those things that I loved. There's a lot of Zen here and a lot of non-Zen. I want to say a lot of nonsense. People come up to me and say, I love your book. Mostly I know what they mean, but I become difficult and a bit ornery. Which one, I ask? I've written 14. I ought to feel grateful that I'm still being read, that my work has continued, and simply take in the pleasure that I might have helped someone with the early inspired energy of Writing Down the Bones, my first book on practice. It is auspicious that with The Great Spring, I have returned to Shambhala, its publisher. Like a big circle closing, the arc is completed. The 30-year anniversary special edition of Writing Down the Bones and this new book will be released at the same time. I joke that Big Brother Bones will introduce the public to Little Sister Spring, but in actuality, The Great Spring holds a more mature knowing, saying in an even clearer way, more experienced way, what is important. I have searched through these stories to find answers, if answers are ever possible, about who I am and who I have become, standing on the ground of being, driven by the practice of writing and Zen. There are many ways to manifest our true life. In Bones, I promise to continue. Here are some of the ways I have done so. Please join me in this deep practice of honoring all of our moments. I cannot do it alone. We are here, but not forever. For those who are interested, how many of you write? For those of you who write, this would interest you. and maybe everybody else too. I came home from this trip, and a week later I had to give a talk to 600 people in San Francisco. And I like the old Zen. You practiced going up with nothing to say, and just whatever, and you could wait and be silent for a long time. And I had nothing, I didn't have nothing to say, but I didn't have anything planned. And I told this story, and they taped it, and then I had it transcribed, and it was almost verbatim, the essay that you just heard. Sometimes when you really practice and are aware of your words, there's not a lot of extra. Now that isn't always true. That was luck. Do I have any advice? She's beginning to teach. Just tell your students to shut up, pick up the pen, and write. Physically do it. Okay? I mean, I'm not, it's finally that's what it's about. It's so austere, isn't it? You don't go to a psychiatrist and work it out, or decorate a studio. I still write how I always have, that I say in Writing Down the Bones. I write with a pen. I write in notebooks, spiral notebooks, and it's upsetting because I've been writing this way for 40 years, and I still expect the notebooks to be $1.47. And when I go to the drugstore to pick them up, they're $3.59. And the other thing I don't like is I'm used to the corners. Now understand, this is my equipment, so they're really serious for me. My cheap notebook and my pen. I used to have a curve. I like the corners to be curved, but now they make it square. It's really annoying. What do you think my answer to her
is? The second part of the question is...
Wait, what, class? I want to hear what the answer is.
Yes.
No, because even no matter what, you just pick up the pen, shut up, and get going. And if you're home and you find yourself procrastinating, get to a cafe, get out of the house. What are the materials of writing? What are your instruments? Pen, paper, and yes, and you can do a computer if you want, but I like handwriting. Pen, paper, and the human mind. Where does the come from? Where do memories come from? It all comes from the human mind. The more you understand the human mind, the more you can work with it and work with procrastination in a real way. And how do you work with it in a real way? You don't give it a lot of time. It doesn't do anything. When you write and you get below discursive thinking, do you know what discursive thinking is? Yada, yada, yada. I have to, my back hurts, so I have to pay my electric bill. All the yada, yada our mind does. When you keep your hand going, you drop below that. When you drop below that, writing does writing, and those memories come up. Because there's something in every one of us that's awake and paying attention, even though we're not paying attention. We carry those memories. That's why it's so tricky. That's what Bones was about. That's what broke a paradigm in the way we saw writing. I put together writing and practice. I don't give a shit about craft. Okay? Keep practicing. You practice tennis. You practice bowling. You practice softball. You practice the piano. But somehow, because we're afraid of the human mind, and writing has to do with that, we've stayed away from it. But what you do is you practice and get to have a relationship with your mind, your instrument for writing. And you just keep practicing, not good or bad. You just keep going. Do you think a crow, caw, caw, and then says, was that a good caw or a bad caw? They just caw. We're constantly evaluating. I'm good, I'm bad, I'm good. So it's just right there. Just keep your hand going, shut up. Your job is to continue. Okay? And I think it's really good to write with someone else because it keeps you kosher. You can't stop. That's why people run together. That's why they meditate together. It keeps you honest. It doesn't matter that you don't have to have some big idea. As a matter of fact, if you have a big idea, you're in trouble. Write about your teeth. But you don't have to stay on the subject. Once you start writing, you enter your own mind, and you get out of the way, and writing does writing. If you have a disease you're going through, should you put it off till there's some light at the end? No, because the writing will comfort you, will help you stay connected. When I had cancer, I just finished a manuscript about cancer, and I started it in the middle of my cancer. For a while, I couldn't write at all. I was so blown out, but I painted. I did a lot of self-portraits where I really looked ugly. Okay, do what you need to do, but it's okay to write if you want. There's no separation between my life as a human being and as a writer. And, I put it all down. Is that terrifying? No, it'd be more terrifying if I separated out. You know what I mean? And I wasn't connected with myself. Writing is a practice. I'm not trying to put writing out there and I'm a different person. Hopefully, I'm growing as I write, which is different than the old idea where you write and then you go get drunk. And you can't bear the sensitivity in writing, and you have a split life. Practice is about living it.